Okay, welcome to my training program. My name is Mario Jannatpour, and I'm a realtor with RE/MAX Alliance here in Louisville, Colorado. I am the author of the book, The Honest Real Estate Agent. This training program that I'm working on is based on a lot that I've done in my book, but rather than write a second book, I'm kind of following up with some content based on a lot of the questions I'm getting from you as new real estate agents that are reading my book. So the title of today's program is Your First 30 Days as a Realtor. So I'm going to talk about what you need to do once you start out your first 30 days. So for those of you who've been watching my videos on YouTube, this is a great, nice studio. I'm in Boulder, Colorado, Daylight Studios. I've got a helper, I've got a cameraman here, Brian, who's helping me out. I've got Mr. Penguin, brought him here from my house for good luck. Got my laptop, so I've got everything ready to go. So thanks for coming today, and I'm gonna kind of jump right into it. So the first thing I want to talk about for your first 30 days as a realtor is there's really no one way to be successful as a realtor. I want to kind of have that disclaimer up front. And the reason I want to say that disclaimer up front is that there's all different kind of styles for being a real estate agent. I was at a realtor meeting here recently. It was a brown bag session, and I met two of the real estate agents who were very, very successful in my local market. And I call them the professor and the movie star. So one of the realtors is like a professor. He is very, soft-spoken. He's very, intellectual. He's kind of like that old E.F. Hutton commercial. When he talks, everybody listens. So he's very like that, right? And he's been extremely successful. That's his style. He's very low-key, very professorial, and that's who he is. And then this other real estate agent is like a movie star. I mean, she does TV commercials. She's got ads. I mean, she's out there. She's very vibrant, very vivacious. I mean, very charismatic. People want to be with her. That's her style. So there's two complete different styles, yet they're both two of the top agents in my local market, which is really kind of fascinating when you think about it, because there's no one way to be successful. It's like like when you make spaghetti sauce. When we were kids growing up, we called it spaghetti. Now we're grown up, we call it pasta. But if you ask somebody how they make their spaghetti sauce, everybody makes it different. There's all different kinds of variations, and they're all really good. So there's just no one way to do it. So what I'm going to try to do for your first 30 days as a realtor is kind of give you some advice, give you some tips, give you some activities that you need to focus on to be successful. A lot of people get into the business being a real estate agent. It's the easiest career to get into. It's the hardest career to stay in over time. And one thing I want to talk about here also is that when you're starting out, there's a lot of different training programs available to new realtors. And frankly, I see there's two major problems with a lot of the realtor programs, training programs that are there. Number one, most of them are geared towards realtors who've been in the business 2 to 5 years. A lot of these elaborate programs that people are promoting, even RE/MAX is promoting a lot of these, who I work for, they're geared towards agents that have been in the business 2 to 5 years. So what I'm going to try to do in this program is to help you get off the ground in your first 30 days. The second problem I see with a lot of realtor programs out there is that they're very costly. I mean, they cost a lot of money. Some of these video programs you can buy online content, or different delivery, they're like $300, for a few hours, worth of training. And then some of the other ones where you have to go to, they're very costly. Travel, you got to pay. You go to a one-day seminar locally, it could be like $500. So they're very costly. So I'm going to try to provide some of my training here that's going to be affordable to you as a new real estate agent. The other point I want to make before I start into what I want you to focus on is that When you're new as a real estate agent, you are a target for a lot of these training and leads companies. So I want to give you some words of caution and a warning. Do not fall prey to any of these get-rich-quick schemes. You know, a lot of these charlatans are going to promote their program, their leads program, guaranteed selling system for realtors, you know, $199. Do not buy any of these programs. Do not go to any of these programs, because there is no magic to being a real estate agent. There's no silver bullet. It's just going to take hard work, focus, and effort over time. So if anybody could be a real estate agent and be successful, we would all be real estate agents. That's why a lot of people wash out, because it needs a certain type of mentality, a certain type of focus, and a certain type of desire to be successful over time. So do not buy any of these guaranteed selling programs or whatever it is. The other thing that you're going to be, people are going to hit you up for, is these leads programs. Oh, we've got guaranteed leads. We've got buyers in your area. Get a listing here. And I get these calls all the time. I get it from everywhere in the country where people are saying that we have guaranteed buyers that are going to buy. And then they offer different ways. You could pay like $50 per lead every time you get one, and it's a guaranteed lead. Guaranteed, right? That's what they say. Or you could pay an upfront fee of a few $100s, and then over time they're going to give you leads. And these leads, most of them, they're just garbage. You know, it's just somebody that's just hit a website, click through, I like to have more information, and then they sell that lead to you to be able to, you know, to get your business. So don't buy any of these leads programs. I can't emphasize this enough, because you're going to get going, and you're going to have a weak moment and say, business is slow and I'm not getting anything. And then somebody calls you on the cell phone, sends you an email, and you're like, oh, that sounds really good. Well, the rule of thumb, if it sounds too good to be true, then it's not true. Okay, really, I want you to know this. So I've got a bunch of bullet points I'm going to go through here for you to focus on for your first 30 days. Most of you, the companies that you're going to start, the company that you work for, your managing broker, the other agents in your office, hopefully they're going to have some type of training program, some type of mentoring program. I'm just going to try to augment what they're doing and to try to give you some additional ideas to help you focus on what it takes to be successful. I'm a real estate agent. I'm doing this right now. I'm not one of these coaches or trainers that's just out there, you know, selling my program. I'm an active real estate agent, and I've been doing this for 10 years. I work for RE/MAX Alliance, so I'm going based on my experience, based on what I've learned from writing my book, The Honest Real Estate Agent, and talking to a lot of you as new real estate agents. So the number one item that I want you to focus on in your first 30 days is your focus has to be on getting clients, getting business. Nothing happens in this business until you get clients. So when you have an active buyer, you have an active listing, that's when everything is going to start from there. It's very easy, like I said, to become a real estate agent, but you want to be able to stay in business, and the ones that stay in business are the ones that are closing business. So what is going to define your success is how much business you're going to be able to generate in your first year and your second year. It's a snowball. You're going to build the snowball over time. The snowball is the business you're going to build today over the next few years. I've been doing this 10 years, and I remember back I had a client that I helped in my very first year, and I helped her and her husband buy a house. And since that time, with that one couple, I've probably generated at least 7 or 8 closings as a result of my relationship with that couple. They've referred other people that they work with, they've referred other family, people to relocate to the area, and then those people that I helped from them, then those people then referred other people to me. So it's like a tree, right? So it's not just the one, but everything started with that one client. And I've probably got 7, 8, maybe more that have all been a result of that one client that I helped initially. And that's what I want to have happen to you in your first year, second year, to be able to get that repeat and referral business. So the focus always has to be on getting clients. And I can't stress this enough, because I've met a lot of you, I've talked to you, email, you've left comments on my YouTube videos, I've had lunch with some of the new realtors locally, and a lot of you don't have the right focus. You're thinking about all this stuff that should be happening 2 years down the road. You're thinking about non-essential selling activities. Everything starts with getting clients. It's a sales type job in the sense that we are only paid when we have a closing. That's the only thing that matters. And when you backtrack, when you get a closing, it all starts when you get a client. So for me, I've had a really good summer. I had a huge July, a lot of closings. Now my pipeline is getting a little bit light in terms of what I've got scheduled to close. So now my focus is on getting new clients, new activity. It's like Friday, I'm going to meet with some new clients, Friday a couple days from now. So I'm going to meet with a couple new clients. And then over the weekend, I've got some other clients coming in from New Jersey, the first time I'm going to meet them. And that's how we keep the ball rolling, is by getting the new clients. So don't get caught up in all of these non-selling activities, because it's just not going to be worth your time. The focus has to be on getting business. So your first 30 days, where's my business coming from? What clients do I have? Am I doing floor time? Am I doing open houses? Am I working my network? You want to get new business. The second thing that you want to do as a new real estate agent, your first 30 days, you want to build your database. And everybody talks about this, and I'm sure people are going to talk about this in your office, but I think it's very important. You build your database, your sphere of influence. And it's basically everybody that you know. So it's your friends, it's your family, people that you've worked with before, people you went to college with, people you went to high school with. If you're younger, it's parents of your friends. You build a database of everybody that you know. And I'm not really hung up on what type of database program to use. I'm not going to promote one or the other. There's a lot of them that are out there. Choose one. Maybe your company has one that you can use. If it's just Google Contacts, I mean, to me, that's fine. Yahoo has a contact program. Use an Excel spreadsheet. Whatever it is, you want to build your database. And then as a result of building your database, then you're going to be able to see, kind of what you're up against in terms of all the people that you know. 80% of the business that we get as real estate agents is going to come from our sphere of influence. That's just the nature of the business, because a lot of times when people are going to do a real estate transaction, they're going to buy or sell their house, they don't have a real estate agent right then and there that they've used before, they'll ask their friends, they'll ask their family. They'll say, hey, Bob, who did you use as a real estate agent when you bought your house? Or, or you told me you had a good experience. Those are the ways that we are going to be able to get clients, is from the people that we know. And so build the database, and I'll talk about the strategies here in a little bit of how you could be able to generate some business through them. The next thing that you need to do as a real estate agent is, your first 30 days, you want to update all your social media profiles. This is a lot different than being a realtor 10, 20 years ago. So now, in today's world, we have all these different profiles that we have online and social media. So you got Facebook, you got Twitter, you got Google+, you've got there's a Google profile that's different than Google+. You've got all these different profiles that you have out there, Pinterest, whatever you're on. I want you to go in and make sure LinkedIn is another one. Make sure you update all your profiles to reflect the fact that now you are a real estate agent. Put the company that you work for, make sure you've got your contact information there, and just have a little blurb about why you're excited about being a new realtor, starting this new career, but update all your social media profiles that you have now become a real estate agent. Because when people go and they search, you're going to be able to start popping up in all these different searches, even on some of these basic social media profiles. So once you update all your social media profiles, the next thing that you could do is let everybody know that you know that you're a realtor. So there's different ways you can do this. You can do it through a Facebook post, people you know on Facebook, on Twitter, through social media. But then also you want to be able to, all the people that you know via email that you're close to, hey, you know, Bob, I just started this job. I'm a real estate agent. I'm really excited. Let people know that you are a real estate agent, because that's going to be important for you to to get the word out, you know, phone calls, personal emails. The next thing that you can do is set up a website and or a blog. So the thing about a website, there's a lot of different levels to this. So what you can do initially, the company that you work for, you probably have a boilerplate web profile page within the company website. So for me, RE/MAX Alliance, we have our own website, homesincolorado.com. So I have a profile page within that website. So I've got a picture of myself. Any of these websites, you want to make sure that you've got a good current picture of yourself on the website. So on my boilerplate for the website, I've got a picture of myself, I've got my contact information there, and then I've got like a blurb about what I specialize in. So for example, I specialize in relocation, first-time home buyers, and I talk about the areas that I cover. So this is a no-cost item, because the company that I work for allows me to be able to put up my profile information on that website. So it's like homes in Colorado /M Jannatpour. So that's like my URL for my website there. The other thing that you can do is set up a blog. Now, for those of you that are not that tech savvy, a blog is almost like a website, and you can do it a lot of times for free. So what I recommend now is that I would do a blog through WordPress. You can also do a blog on Active Rain, but if you want your blog posts to be on the internet to the public, through Active Rain you have to pay a fee, $350, $400, to be a part of their Active Rain network. WordPress, you don't have to pay to set up a blog through them. And the great thing about WordPress is that it's very Google friendly for searches, and also it's mobile friendly. So when you have like you know, your iPad or tablet computer, you have your smartphone, so many more people are watching like YouTube videos through their smartphones and through their tablet computers. So if you have a video post through your WordPress blog, it'll automatically reformat for the mobile device, and that is huge. I know before, my website was not on a WordPress blog platform, and I remember when I would go out on my on my iPhone at the time, my website was like all screwed up, you know, and I had to like, you know, toggle through and do all this stuff. It just looked really bad. So now that I've converted over to a WordPress blog, it just looks great on an iPhone. Now, if you want to create your own website, I don't think it's as important in your first 30, 60, 90 days to do a really high-end fancy website. You will be contacted by a lot of these website developers, and they'll say, oh, well, I'll do a personalized website for you for $500, and you're going to get leads, 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 and all this kind of stuff. I would say just don't do that. Just hold off until you get your feet wet and you get going, because if you do a WordPress blog, you have all your information there. You can create your own URL if you want to. I think there's, you know, additional cost to do that, but it's not, you know, $500. So you can create your own WordPress URL, and then it's there. Then you can be able to add the content for your WordPress blog, and then you're going to be able to have that content there and people could be able to find you. So definitely in your first 30 days, I would set up a WordPress blog and be able to do that. And I'll come back to this when I'm talking about content creation. The other thing that you can do as a new realtor in your first 30 days is preview, preview, preview. And I can't say how valuable, this is very invaluable because you want to know your market. So the best way to know your market is to know your product. Our product is the inventory in the area where we're going to be selling. So the first couple weeks, if you don't have buyers that you're working with, get out and preview. The companies that you work for, they might have like a preview day, a caravan tour, where they take all of you and they go see all the new listings in a certain geography. Definitely go on those, but in addition to that, go on your own previews and try to focus in on areas that you are going to kind of be specializing in. Because as I've talked about in my book, I've talked about in my videos, you want to be able to have a niche and a market focus on where you're going to kind of hone in your area of specialty. So preview all of the properties that are out there, new listings, listings that have been out there, because product knowledge is what our clients want. If I'm a new client and I'm talking to you on the phone and I say, hey, you know, I was interested in this property, and then you could say, I've been there. That carries a lot of weight, right? Because you've been there. Oh, I know what it looks like. So for me, I'm pretty busy with what I'm doing with all my clients. So when I go out and I'm showing buyers, you know, we hit all the houses and we're doing our tour. So when the next buyer comes along and I say, hey, you know, I've looked at all these houses. I know what are the pluses and minuses of each one of them. We go look, and that carries instant credibility with your clients. And the same thing works with listings. If you've got somebody who's interested in selling their house, you can go, you meet with them, talk about all the comps in the area and say, I've been there. I know what this house, I know what the problem is with this house. I know why this house isn't selling. I know why this house sold really fast. Again, credibility, product knowledge, expertise. And when you're new, you could still have that. You could be a new realtor and you've lived in your area for 20 years, or maybe you're a native. So inherently, you know your market. If you've moved into the area from out of state and you're a new, new to that city and you're a new real estate agent, you could still get the product knowledge by getting out there and doing the previews. Preview, preview, preview. The next point that you can do in your first 30 days is you want to host open houses. So even if you don't have new listings as a realtor, the office that you work in, you have other agents in your office. You want to make sure you develop good relationships with them. So these realtors that are in your office, you develop good relationships with them, and you see a new listing come up in a geography, a neighborhood that you are kind of focusing in on, and you go to talk to that realtor and say, hey, you know, I saw this new listing. Were you planning on doing an open house? If you weren't, can I do it? And then nowadays, you don't need to put an open house ad in the newspaper. That's kind of wasted money nowadays. Basically, everybody is looking online. So within the MLS program that you have, most of them, I know ours does, you could just put the link there, post the announcement that you're going to do an open house this coming weekend. Then you can advertise your open house through Facebook, Twitter, post it on your blog website, and you could do a YouTube video about it. So there's a lot of different ways that you can advertise your open house. And you know what? It's all free, right? Doing an open house ad in the newspaper is pretty expensive. I did that years ago, and to run some of these ads, you know, $150, $200. I mean, pretty costly. So host open houses. Your goal when you host an open house is you want to be able to make relationships. You want to be able to generate a new customer, what we call hook 'em. So you want to be able to hook that client, and it's all based on your relationship, right? And this is something where it's an art, and you want to be able to develop a relationship with this customer coming into the open house within that first 5 to 10 minutes. You know, based on your expertise, knowledge of the area, but also some type of personal connection. I know the open houses that I've done before where I've connected with clients, it's always been some kind of connection, either like they came from Virginia, or I just helped somebody that came from California. I remember one where the wife's mother was visiting for a long time, and my mother-in-law was there for a long time, and we were sharing our stories and things like that. So it's always something silly, but that's where it's a relationship business, and people will make connections with you based on relationship and then based on how they trust you, how they like you. It's not as important as it was before, but an open house, definitely, it is important. So host some open houses, and your goal would be, if you host an open house the first weekend, try to get, 1 or 2 active buyers. And when you're new, you've got time to be able to take buyers out, because that's what buyers want. Oh yeah, I'm looking at buying in the Boulder area. Can you take me out? I'm interested in looking in North Boulder. And you as a realtor? Sure, yeah. What do you want to go tomorrow? I've got time. You want to try to qualify them a little bit better than that. But when you're new, what's important is to be active, to be out there, looking at the properties, having buyers. So when you host an open house, that's a great way for you to make connections with buyers. And then you could also make connections with maybe potential listings, because nowadays when you host an open house, all the neighbors will stop by. Everybody's like, oh, let me come see what it looks like. And you get all the nosy neighbors and things like that. Oh yeah, they did a great job with this kitchen, but I would have gone with cherry rather than, maple. And you get those kind of neighbors that come in and critique everything. It's funny, it happens. I had one a couple months ago where my buyers went to an open house, and one of the neighbors came in and was like railing about that house. It was really funny. So do open houses. That's something that really can get your business going. And I know not a lot of you that are new, a lot of you are not doing that. I know some of you are doing it, but you need to do it. And you'll hear from some of the experienced agents, some of the $1,000,000 agents, right? Oh, you don't need to do that. And, maybe they don't need to do that, but it would be very helpful to you to do that, because that's a good way for you to get clients. The next thing you could do in your first 30 days is floor duty, floor time. And floor time is when your office will have agents scheduled to be available when people call on the phone about the listings that the office has, any of the realtors. And then if anybody walks into the office that needs help, if they're looking to buy or looking to sell. So that's called floor time. So when you're new, you definitely want to do the floor time, do your floor duty. And this is something that's a little trick that you could do. You want to develop relationships with the other realtors in your office. It's really important. You don't look at them as your competition. Look at them as people that can help you. And the people that you develop good relationships with, you could say, hey, hey Bob, I noticed you got floor time tomorrow. You're really busy. Can I take your floor time? So as a new agent, you could try to get more floor time from some of the other agents who don't want to do floor time. I know for me, I don't do floor time. It's just, it doesn't fit my personality. I'm busy with all the other things I got going on. My regular business is busy. I just don't want to take time out and spend with somebody walking in when I've got other things going on. So I just give my floor time back to the office, and then they can just apportion it out to somebody else. But if your office doesn't do that, you can ask the other realtors to see if you can get their floor time. Because I know some places you can generate really good business from working floor time. So really make sure that you're doing that in your first 30 days. And again, this goes back to my first point. Your focus has to be on getting business. And I don't want any of you to say, oh, I'm new, I can't do floor time. That's bogus. You're new, you got to generate business. You got to get the floor time. You got to host the open houses. You got to get out there and meet the clients. Don't let call reluctance get in the way of you being successful. And I know a lot of new salespeople, because I've been in sales, all my life since I graduated from college. Salespeople will use call reluctance, and they use excuses not to get in front of clients. Oh, well, I'm not ready for floor time. I'm new. I don't really know the area, or I just don't know the process, I'm kind of scared, no. You need to do the floor time. And if you work for a good company, if you work for a good managing broker, a good training, a good mentor, they'll kick you out there and say, you got to do it. And if you need help, you can always get help, but you got to be able to do the floor time. The next point is, I had here network and meet with other agents in your office. And I kind of touched on that a few times here. But kind of elaborate a couple other points is that some of the agents in your office are going to be really busy. And if they're not part of a team and they've got a lot of things going on, you let the other agents know that, hey, I've got time on my hands. Maybe they get a new client, a new buyer, and they don't have time to take them out. So what they can do is they can refer that customer, that client to you. Maybe you pay a referral fee. And I think a referral fee that's fair is 25%. So what that is that if you close that customer, you will pay that agent 25% of whatever the commission you get. And this gets a little tricky based on the splits and everything. For me, it's easy because I work for RE/MAX, and RE/MAX Alliance, I get 100% of my commission. So anytime I give a split, it's pretty easy to dole that out. But if you develop relationships with the other agents in your office, then let them know. And if they have faith in you, confidence in you, then you can start getting some referral business from some of the agents that are just inside your office. So that's a good way to try to get some business up front. So the next point I want to talk about is in your first 30 days, what you need to be doing, content creation. So this is one of my big things now as a real estate agent and how we do our marketing. Everything is driven off of the content that we create through our social media. So the content that we create will revolve around the niche that we've chosen. And this is something I've talked about in my book, I've talked about in my earlier video and my YouTube videos. As a new real estate agent, it's really important that you have a niche, a market segment, a geography, something that you're focusing in on. Because when you create your content, you want to create your content that revolves around your niche. The days of being a general real estate agent, I help buyers and sellers, that isn't as effective as it used to be. I mean, look at doctors and lawyers. I mean, everybody is specialized. Every industry now is getting specialized. So as a real estate agent, you want to have an area of focus. Might be a neighborhood, might be a certain part of the city, might be a market segment, relocation buyers, first-time buyers, short sales, foreclosures, mountain properties, second homes. I mean, there's a whole list of all different areas that you can focus in on. But when you do your content creation as your first 30 days, what you want to do is, we talked about having a blog, your website, WordPress. So you've got a blog. So what you want to do is you want to blog about valuable information that your potential customer would want to read. So let's say, for example, like Denver. If you're in Denver, let's say you work in downtown Denver and your specialty is lofts. You're doing a lot of the downtown type properties. So you might do a blog talking about what you need to look for when you're buying a loft in downtown Denver. Maybe talk about what are the potential pitfalls of some of the lofts that are there. You talk about what are information that your client will want to know. And you start creating this content. So you're doing these blogs, and it's good to put like a picture. So if I blog about Boulder, I put a picture of the Flatirons, put a picture about South Boulder, whatever it is. You want to have some images, not just text. And you can go and read a lot of these blogs that are out there. Active Rain has a lot of good blogs. WordPress has a lot of blogs. When you do a search, like for example, if you type in Boulder real estate and you search, it'll bring up everything, the websites that are attached to that search term. But also if you look in Google, you could look for blogs. So if you click on the little blog tab, it'll pull up all the blogs related to that search term. So you're creating content that your potential customers want to read. And this, again, is a new way to do business, but the people that are doing it and people that are doing it right are the ones that are connecting with customers on the internet, because everybody is searching on the internet now. Our buyers, our sellers are much more sophisticated than they were 10, 15 years ago. So everybody is using the internet. So post pictures when you're doing a written blog. Now the other thing that you could do is you can do a YouTube video. So I'm really big into doing YouTube videos. I know a lot of you have started to do that, and a lot of other realtors have been doing it for quite a while. But if you look at how many realtors there are in the country, you know, probably over 1 million, whatever, I'd say, you know, less than 3% of realtors are doing YouTube videos that are content creation type videos where content valuable to your customers, potential customers. Now I'm not talking about doing a video on a listing. You know, you got to, you know, XYZ property, new listing, you know, people will take different pictures of that house and they just roll the pictures through the video, have text, have some, you know, cheesy music in the background, you know, going, and then it's like, oh, that looks like a great listing. Those are good videos. You know, I'm not saying don't do that. Those are good videos. What I'm talking about is doing like what I'm doing right now. You do a video, you're doing it on the camera, you're talking yourself, and I've done a lot of those. You can look at YouTube. I do a webcam, I'm sitting at home, and I've got some lights there, and I'm just doing really basic type videos. Relocation tips for moving to Boulder, Colorado. Why do people like living in Colorado versus California? You know, I did that. What should I rent or should I buy? All the questions that you get from people that are getting to sit down with you and asking questions or emailing you, put those out in a YouTube video. Do an introductory video of yourself and just put that on your WordPress site. And it's very easy to do this through YouTube. You just take the source code from YouTube, it's the embed code. You take that, you embed it into the WordPress, and then your video is, boom, it's embedded right in that WordPress blog. So when people go to your blog, they can see your video. Now, I know what you're thinking, and I know what you're saying to yourself. I'm not going to do a video. This guy's crazy. You know, I'm not going to do a video. I mean, I don't look good. You know, if my hair doesn't look good. You know, I'm older, I'm younger. You know, I'm too fat. You know, whatever the case may be. Hey, I had all those same thoughts when I did a video, right? I'm older, you know, I'm fat, I'm doing this video here, I've been working out really hard the last week, you know, I maybe lost a few pounds, right? But it all comes back on the camera, so it doesn't matter. I mean, we are what we are. Our clients are gonna wanna work with us, but the ones that do the videos, you're gonna set yourself apart. And I just, you know, I know I'm harping on this, but you gotta do it. And I know a lot of you that have started since last year, you haven't done a video. And you know who I'm talking about. I've emailed a lot of you guys and I said, hey, where's your video? And you haven't done a video. And here's a classic example. I got an email just the other day, this last few days ago. And this one potential client, he's coming from New Jersey with his family. And he said, yeah, we're moving from New Jersey. You know, we'd like to schedule a time to go on a tour with you, to look at houses, and gave me all his criteria, you know, price range, you know, 500, 600,000. And I saw you on YouTube. I watched your videos. You had a very informative approach, and I liked your style, right? That's what I'm talking about. That's how we're going to get business, is by doing these videos. And I know you're saying to yourself, I'm not going to do it, but you got to do it. You can go buy a webcam from Best Buy or whatever, 50 bucks. A lot of you have it on your laptops. Do a video. And you could do it in HD, which is great. And then you can take that code and you can move it anywhere you need to, and you put it on your WordPress site, you can post it anywhere. So do that when you're doing your content creation. Even your first 30 days, start doing your videos. YouTube is amazing. It's the second largest search engine on the internet. And a lot of times when you do a search on Google and then you can click on videos, it brings up all the YouTube videos. Go and look at the videos that I've done. You can see Louisville, Colorado real estate, relocation to Boulder. You see, and I've done a lot of videos for my book and everything, but you need to do it. I can't stress it enough, even in your first 30 days. The other thing you can do in your first 30 days is do the training that your local realtor association is going to be providing, your local board. And there's different designations that you can get as a real estate agent. So like the ABR, the Accredited Buyer Representative, CRS, Certified Residential Specialist. There's a lot of different designations that you could get. There's a whole slew of them. One thing that I don't want you to get trapped in, especially when you're new, is feeling that you got to have a whole alphabet soup after your name based on all these designations. You don't need it. I know realtors in my office that don't have a lot of designations. I'm not a big designation person. I've got a lot of sales experience, and I just don't feel it's time effective for me to go get 20 different designations. It's just not that critical. So watch out for that, because I do know some realtors that, oh, I got to get this designation, I got to get this designation, I got to get this designation, and then I'll start selling. That's not going to work. You know, like I said, the focus is to get clients from day one. The focus is not to go get a bunch of designations. If you want to get trained, if you want to get education and get all this stuff, then go study for your PhD, you know. Don't be a real estate agent if you just are into education and stuff. The training classes that are effective in your first 30 days, first 60 days are any classes related to contracts. Now, I know a lot of you are new. You're going to be really well versed in the contracts because you've been through all the real estate school and you've got your license. What I'm talking about is there's a lot of contract classes that talk about, you know, some of like advanced contracts, or they talk about different types of issues that come up. You want to be able to go to a class, and we have an awesome trainer here in the Boulder area, Oliver Frascona. You know, I'll go ahead and give him a plug right here, but I've been going to Oliver's classes for many years. He's a lawyer, and he does a lot of our classes here in the Boulder area. And the reason I love going to his classes is that he's entertaining, but he talks about real world examples of a lot of situations that we're facing. And since he's a lawyer, he's got all these really ugly and juicy situations where somebody sues here and, you know, this guy's suing that person, all these things. But it's good for us to know, because as a real estate agent, we don't want to be sued by our buyers or by our sellers, by our clients. So when I go to Oliver's classes, I really learn a lot about the firsthand application of the contracts to what we're doing. So ask the other realtors, ask your managing broker, who in your area teaches contract classes that really gives a good hands-on, good example-driven class, so you can really learn a lot of that. Because when you start doing your contracts, you're going to get questions from your clients about the different parts of the contract. You're going to know kind of the nuts and bolts, but you want to know strategically how that's going to apply to the transaction. Because it's not just understanding the contract of just the language. You want to understand how it's going to affect your deal, how it's going to affect your buyer, how it's going to affect your seller. I remember when I started years ago in an office, and somebody that I know, another agent, they got a contract, and they were new also, and they got a contract, they were representing the seller, and within the contract it listed that the seller was going to pay like $5,000 in closing costs towards the buyer's loan costs. And this agent went through the whole contract, and then this agent didn't see this statement. And then they were negotiating the terms, negotiating the price. So they negotiated, let's say, you know, the net sale of, you know, $200,000, but then they had this $5,000 concession, so the seller was only going to net $195,000. Now the seller concessions are a part of the contract. It's a lot easier to read, but there's still going to be stuff in the contract that could be hidden, could be some clauses that you're not familiar with. So going to contract classes is definitely very helpful. And then this goes back to what I've talked about before with your managing broker, having a good hands-on managing broker that's available for consultation and help when you do get some of these complex contracts. The other class that I think is valuable is, this is a designation, it's the CNE designation, Certified Negotiating Expert. I took this class a couple years ago because I was light on my continuing education hours, and Oliver Frascona, who I mentioned before, he was the teacher, and it was a 2-day class. I think it was like 6 hours, I think, a day, so I got 12 credits. And, but it was an excellent class. It's a national class, so you can be able to go to it in your area. CNE, Certified Negotiating Expert. And I learned a lot in that class. It was really very helpful. We did role playing within the class, which was really good, and I really, really liked that. So again, what I want you to take away from this, you do not need to get 1 million designations in your first year. People are not going to work with you based on designations when you're new. They're going to work with you based on the relationship, based on your knowledge of the area. It's not going to be based on some, designation. The other thing that you can do in your first 30 days that'll be really helpful is, again, networking with the agents in your office, developing relationships. But what I want you to do is ask some of the agents if you can sit in with them on some of their meetings. So maybe they're doing a buyer tour in the area, and if it's not too many buyers, if you could squeeze into the car, you promise to be quiet, you promise not to say anything, because you don't want to be a third wheel, but you can just go along and then watch how that agent handles the buyer tours. Watch how the agent handles the questions. Watch how the agent talks about the properties. You can learn. Then you can also learn about the buyer, what they're asking, what's important to them. So you could do a ride along there, a listing presentation. You can go with the, you can go with the agent and go listing presentation. Any of these meetings that the realtors in your office have, maybe they're going over a contract, maybe they're going through an inspection negotiation. Just ask if you can sit in. And I know when I was starting out in sales, we did a lot of that, where we would watch the other salespeople and learn from them. And this is where you got to tell them, I'm not competition to you. I'm not taking your clients away. I just want to learn. And then they will be helpful. And maybe you can coordinate this through your managing broker, and they can try to coordinate with you to kind of sit in with the other agent. The next exercise that you can do as a new agent in your first 30 days, and I call this an exercise, do role playing. I've been in sales all my professional life, and I've done a lot of role playing exercises. Talking about sales role playing, where customer and the salesperson. So what you want to role play as a new realtor is like role play an open house. So if I'm sitting here or standing, I got somebody coming in, you want to role play that. Hey, how you greet them, information, the questions that you ask, because in an open house you've got minutes. You've got 5 minutes at the most, seconds, right? And that's where you read that Malcolm Gladwell book, Blink. It's really interesting how we form opinions of other people in the blink of an eye. So you only have a short period of time. So if you could practice that, practice the open house, role play that with other realtors, role play with your family. You got older kids, let them do it. Your husband, your wife, boyfriend, girlfriend, family, let them do it. The good thing is if you can do it with other agents in your office, especially if you got other new agents, you kind of do it as a team and work together. What I've always found to be most valuable to me when I do role playing is when I'm the customer. So when I'm actually the customer, I feel what it feels like to be a customer. And then when you're a customer and then you got this other person on the other side, asking you all these questions and interrogating you and doing this, that, and the other, and you're saying to yourself, why are they asking me all these questions, right? So I'm always very sensitive to that as a realtor, like when I'm doing an open house, that I don't want to just go through this, 2-minute barrage of interrogation. Where do you live and where are you coming from? Are you in the neighborhood? Why are you here? All this stuff. You got to kind of take it slow and let them kind of get a comfort level with you. And then over time, you progressively talk and then you'll get that information out of them. But if you role play this and you practice this, you'll get better. You want to role play listing when you're doing a listing presentation, a listing meeting. Do it with other agents. So you're talking to the seller, you got this presentation. And depending on the company you work for, they might have a whole formal presentation that they want you to follow. Fine, go ahead and do that. But practice it. Practice it back and forth. You being the realtor, you being the customer, do both. You can also role play initial buyer meetings when you first sit down with the potential buyer and what is important to cover, how you develop that relationship with them so you're going to be able to go on the tour with them, and you need to find out information up front. So the thing I always ask, like when I sit down with the buyer, I always want to find out the motivation. What is the motivating factor? Why do you want to buy a house? What's driving it? If they're renting, then their lease is going to end this date. Then we got to be able to buy by that date. If they want to buy because they're selling, then we got to tie all that together. If they're buying because they're moving in from out of state, we got to tie that together. So you got to find out what is the motivating factor. And the other thing is when you find out the motivating factor, then you want to find out how strong is that motivating factor, because in that way you'll be able to determine how qualified that buyer is. And then when you role play these buyer meetings and you do all your other qualifying questions that you can get from your managing broker, from your office, and the basic stuff in terms of, how much you're qualified for, just all the basic information, but practice it. The more you practice it, the better that you'll be. I remember my first sales job, it was a sales job. We were selling these memberships to a buying co-op. It was like a predecessor to Costco, but at a different level. And I remember there was a buddy of mine, he and I, after work was over, he and I would just practice. We would do these role play things and we would do it. And we were young, we were gung-ho, we want to do it. But that role playing that we did really helped me become a better salesperson, helped me become more confident, more relaxed when I was working with my potential customers. So role play, role play, role play. The next thing is we talked about your database. So what you need to do in your first 30 days, you want to start networking your sphere of influence. So all the people that you know. So when I mean network, you want to try to go out to lunch, a couple days a week. People that you've worked with before, people that you went to college with, people that you went to high school with, maybe friends of your parents. Whatever the case is, you want to network with people that you know and try to network with people that you know that know other people. So the person that you're networking with has some kind of job, or they're contacting other people, or they know people moving to the area, or they maybe have some contacts with investors, whatever it is. Try to network with people that know other people. And when you network with them, you don't want to just be selling. Just have a nice friendly lunch. And they'll ask you, hey, how's your new job going? How's it like being a real estate agent? And just be honest and just talk about what you're experiencing, and then just ask them, how can you help me? Is there anything that you can do to help my career? Anything that you can help me get going? And you'll be really surprised. A lot of people that we know are really willing to help. They're willing to help you succeed. And there's always going to be a few friends and family that are willing to do that. And that's something great that we have. So I've kind of gone through a long list of things that you can do for your first 30 days. And I want you to focus especially on getting new clients. I want you to do the YouTube videos. I want you to do the WordPress blog. I want you to do the role playing. I want you to get out there. I don't want you to use any excuse to say, I can't do it. I don't want that to be a part of your mentality. Just because you're new, you can do it. Just because you're new, you can still be a real estate agent. When I first started as a real estate agent, I was very successful. because I was, really gung-ho, I was excited, I was enthusiastic, and you're going to have the same advantage. You're going to be excited, you're going to be enthusiastic, you're going to care about what you do, and that's going to, transmit across when you're working with your clients. When you're doing your YouTube videos, you care about what you do, you want to help your clients, so that's very, very powerful. And the last thing I want to sum up here is, and I talk about this all the time, don't give up. First 30 days, obviously you're not going to give up, but don't get down on yourself. Don't be hard on yourself. This is a long-term career. I just had a closing a couple weeks ago, and I helped these buyers, and they relocated here from Arizona. And I met them 3 years ago, and we joke about this. In 3 years, this sales process for me helping them. And they moved here just earlier this year, but the first 2 years are kind of coming back and forth. But I saw the wife just, last week, over this last weekend, and she thanked me, profusely. She said, "Thank you, Mario. You did such a great job. Thank you for staying through all of this. Thank you for being persistent." And, just hearing her say that just made me feel so much better. So thanks so much. I really appreciate you stopping by.